In an event organized by Moms Stop the Harm and Ryan's Hope, Mayor Jeff Lehman proclaimed August 31st as the International Overdose Awareness Day in the city of Barrie. 70 people died due to drug overdose in 2021 in Barrie alone, and 21 Canadians die every day due to the drug epidemic. There are various organizations such as Gilbert Centre, Busby Centre, and Ryan's Hope helping people facing mental health and toxic drug issues. Lehman said the drug crisis should be treated as a public health crisis. On the occasion, Christine Nayler of Ryan's Hope talked about the drug crisis and remembered her son who died due to poison drug supply. Cheryl Offord of Moms Stop the Harm read poems she wrote in her daughter Shailen's memory. Follow the timestamps in the description below to jump to the relevant part of the video.
I have the honor of being your MC today. I'm going to begin with a land acknowledgement. If I don't get too tied up here. Ryan's Hope acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are privileged to meet and serve on lands that Indigenous people have called home immemorial. We recognize their contributions both in shaping and strengthening this community, province, and country, and are grateful for their stewardship and care of the land we share. We recognize the great harms to Indigenous people and families caused by colonial laws and practices. We acknowledge they continue to suffer physical, mental, and spiritual harm due to continuing unjust policies. We are committed to working together towards truth and reconciliation. We are committed to allyship and to using our voice to speak out for truth and justice. We will continue to strive to work together in the spirit of friendship, building bridges and partnerships. Language. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today for International Overdose Awareness Day. And it's a global event held on August 31st each year. It aims to raise awareness of drug poisonings and reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths. It also acknowledges the grief felt by families and friends, remembering those who have met with death or permanent injury as a result of drug poisonings. Today, we come together to grieve the losses our community has faced and to offer support and comfort to those affected by these losses. I'd like to welcome Mayor Jeff Lehman to the forefront for the flag raising and proclamation.
Thank you, Jesse, and welcome everyone to the civic heart of our community, where we gather today to raise awareness for an epidemic that has been sweeping our community for some years. Poison drugs has taken so many lives, and we know that these deaths are felt intensely by the friends and family of those we've lost, and so we're remembering them today. And in remembering them, are recommitting to our own efforts to do more to support those struggling with addiction in our community and to eradicate poison drugs. I'm a member of an organization called Ontario's Big City Mayors. We are the mayors of the 28 largest cities in Ontario. Last year, through our work, we committed to supporting decriminalization of possession of certain substances, controlled substances, in order to try and change the public discussion around this issue from just enforcement to what it is, a public health crisis that continues to take lives in our community across this province, across this country, and across the world. The fact is, until we treat addiction as a public health issue, we will continue to lose people, and we will continue to take an approach which hasn't worked to supporting the people who need our help in our city before it's too late. At the risk of being a little bit political, through the last 3 years, we as a society have collectively fought another public health crisis, a global pandemic. And yet this crisis has taken as many lives in our community and has worsened during the course of the global pandemic. And so we need more. We need more public health resources. We need more efforts as compassionate individuals, as friends and neighbors and families, to support those struggling with addiction. And that's a question for decision makers at all levels of government, but it is also an effort that all of us can continue to commit to raise our voices to say, this isn't okay the way it is today. The way we are treating the addictions crisis in our country is not okay, and we have to continue to push for more. Today I have a proclamation and a flag to raise. And you know, I wanted to say, because I'm approaching the end of my term as your mayor, in my time in Barrie, no issue has become more crushing in its impact on our community than the combined impact of the mental health and addictions crisis that we face. And you know, whether it is through big city mayors or around the city council table or in working with people like Dr. Simon from the health unit and others in our community, Ryan's Hope, and so many organizations who care so much, I've been heartened by the degree to which awareness has grown and the fact that organizations have continued to grow and increase their efforts. But we're all going to have to do a lot more. And I think as we go forward, it's really that change in thinking that is so fundamental that we have to try and spread everywhere, from in our online comments to our conversations with our families and our friends, to the work that we do in all of our own lives and in our respective roles. It's about changing the conversation to understand that this is a fundamental issue of passion and health. And if we can do that, we will be able to continue to grow the efforts that we have locally, and the conversation and the changes that need to be made across our country. So, whereas the City of Barrie does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by drug overdose, and whereas we recognize the purpose of International Overdose Awareness Day as remembering loved ones lost to overdose and ending the stigma of drug-related deaths, whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, to claim the lives of 70 Barrie residents in 2021, together with countless more affected forever. And whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, and deserving of our love, compassion, and support. And whereas there are important organizations that advocate and offer support for individuals and families, Moms Stop the Harm is a national organization comprised of family members that have been affected by the toxic drug crisis. And locally, Ryan's Hope is an organization that advocates for and supports people living with substance use issues in our community. Therefore, I, Mayor Jeff Lehman, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2022 as International Overdose Awareness Day in the City of Barrie. And I'll give that. We have the organizations. Do you want to raise the flag now, or do you want to, are there other speakers first? I thought so. Okay, and I'll hand the mic over to you.
Cheryl, if I could ask you to come forward, we'll now do a smudge. Cheryl is going to smudge the flag and then make her way around the circle. We're just going to continue in silence for a few moments while the smudging takes place. For anyone who doesn't know, smudging is done with white sage, and it is a traditional native medicine, and it releases the negativity from you, brings you some measure of peace, and allows you to focus. Go ahead and introduce our speaker today. It's Christine Nayler, Director of Ryan's Hope, and Mom Stop the Harm Advocate. Christine is the co-founder and director of Ryan's Hope. She is a fierce mental health and social justice advocate, using her voice to bring awareness and inspire action. Christine and her husband Tom founded Ryan's Hope in memory of their son Ryan, who lived with mental illness and lost his life due to a toxic drug poisoning on November 29, 2020. Ryan's Hope mission is to advocate for and support people living with mental illness, substance use issues, and experiencing homelessness. Christine and Tom were named first runner-up for the 2021 Mayor's Innovation Awards in the Community Impact category, and Ryan's Hope was awarded honorable mention for the 2022 Leighton Activism Award. In June 2022, Christine had the honor of speaking at a press conference on Parliament Hill with Jagmeet Singh, leader of the NDP Party of Canada, and MP Gord Johns, in regards to proposed bill C-216, a bill that called for a comprehensive health-based approach to address the toxic drug crisis. And I give you Christine. Thank you.
I would like to thank you all for coming out this morning to be in community as we gather for International Overdose Awareness Day. IOAD is a day that is recognized around the world. This important day originated in Australia in 2001 as an annual campaign to end overdose, remember without stigma those who have died, and to acknowledge the grief of family and friends left behind. Much has changed in our world since that first IOAD gathering was held. I would like to say that much has changed for the better, but when it comes to the reason that we are all gathered here today, it has not. In fact, things have gotten much worse in our community, our country, and world. And sadly, actions that would help address the rising death toll of this crisis are not taken due to stigma, misinformation, and politics. This is why I would like to begin today with a little lesson on language and why it matters. Harm reduction advocates such as myself prefer to use the term toxic. Hello?
Try it again.
This is why. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, I'm just going to talk. This is why I would like to begin today with a little lesson on language and why it matters. Harm reduction advocates such as myself prefer to use the term toxic drug poisoning to overdose, as overdose implies that a person knew what they were taking and took too much. This was not the case for my son or the countless people who have lost their lives to a toxic drug supply. They did not know what they were taking, as our whole drug supply is now poisoned, and thus people that have to resort to getting their drugs, or what I like to refer to as their medicine, from the street have no idea of what drugs they are taking. Or advocates have also started to use opioid crisis for this, which reflects the data and science about related deaths in this country. Language matters because if we are going to reduce the number of drug-related deaths in this country, we need to reform our drug laws and policies, as they are the reasons we are losing 21 Canadians a day to a toxic drug supply. For those of you that don't know me, I am Ryan's mom. I stand before you today to share our family story. It is a story of love, grief, pain, purpose, loss, and survival. For those of you who didn't know Ryan, let me introduce him. My Ryan was an advocate and an activist. He was a musician and a poet. He was an old soul, wise beyond his years, and yet he remained young at heart. Ryan lived with this bipolar disorder and self-medicated with street drugs because the pharmaceutical medications did not work for him. Even when he was struggling with his own survival, Ryan was doing whatever he could to help others. And up until his last breath, Ryan fought his very best to stay alive. Ryan was one of the many lives we have lost due to our country's failed war on drugs. For this reason, I continue to use my voice to speak truth to justice, to stand up for those that are now voiceless, and to stand in solidarity with those on the front lines that are fighting to keep our family, friends, and neighbors alive. Did you know that we lose 21 Canadians a day to toxic drugs? That is a number that should shock and stagger people, and it doesn't. That's because people have grown numb to hearing the statistics. They hear that number, forgetting that those were not numbers. Those were people we lost, and each one of those losses affects a family and a community. These humans' lives were valuable, and they mattered. These deaths were preventable, and yet our government refuses to take necessary action to stop these deaths. If we were losing this number of Canadians to any other issue, there would be action. But shame, stigma, ignorance, and moral judgment cause our government to place less value on the lives lost to toxic drugs than on lives lost to COVID or cancer or heart disease. I am standing here before you today, sharing my story of pain and grief in the hopes of opening hearts and minds, in hopes of shattering some of the stigma, and in hopes of inspiring you all to take action. We have a municipal election coming up. Who we choose to elect matters. Who we choose to elect matters because it will affect the treatment, support, and that our most vulnerable in our community will receive. So I ask you all to look into your hearts today. I ask you to ask yourself and our would-be elected leaders tough questions. I invite you to stand in solidarity with those of us that are working to challenge and dismantle broken systems that cause undue and unjust harms to our most vulnerable citizens. This photo over here is of some of the lives we have lost. To date, we have lost over 29,000 Canadians to our failed drug laws and policies. These photos over here are of children of some of our Ontario Mums Stop the Harm advocates. Here you will see a photo of my Ryan. He is the one holding the cat. This photo is so precious to me because it captures who Ryan was as a person. This photo was taken at the cat shelter where Ryan and I volunteered together. We volunteered there during a time when Ryan was ill and really struggling with suicidal thoughts and depression. Getting out of bed was hard for him, as was making it through a whole day without harming himself. And yet, despite all this, he was always ready to go do his duty at the shelter and never miss a scheduled shift. Ryan was a born activist and a truth teller. He wrote his first protest letter when he was 10 years old, and it was read at Queen's Park. He was an ethical vegan and a passionate animal rights activist. He felt very strongly since animals had no voice, someone needed to speak to him, and he elected himself to be that voice. When Ryan was living in Toronto and working on his master's degree, he heard about the University of Victoria's plan to cull over 1,000 rabbits. He used his savings and flew across the country to save the bunnies. He helped organize a campaign that included letter writing, petitions, radio, and TV interviews. Thanks to Ryan's efforts, the campaign was successful in relocating all the rabbits to new homes. This was one of his proudest accomplishments. After graduating with a master's degree in information library science, Ryan landed his dream job in Edmonton. This is where the first signs of his illness began to appear. This is where he started to experience psychosis. Ryan did not know what was happening to him, and to cope with what was going on, he began to self-medicate, first with alcohol and then later with street drugs. After a suicide attempt, my husband flew to Edmonton to bring Ryan home. Naively, we thought once he was home, we would be able to get him the help he needed. But this was only the beginning of an 8-year journey of trying to get Ryan help, but only finding ourselves over and over again coming face to face with stigma and judgment from people and systems that were supposed to help him. Sadly, the worst stigma came from the medical profession. Ryan struggled and fought his best to stay alive and stay strong despite having the odds double stacked against him, having to live with both bipolar disorder and substance use disorder. Life was hard the last years, but there were still so many beautiful times filled with joy. And Ryan was always happiest at family gatherings where he would be having intellectual debates or playing and goofing off with his nieces and nephews. I think that was the role that he was the most proud of, was favorite uncle, and he was everyone's favorite uncle because he remained young at heart and he had a little bit of leprechaun magic in him. Ryan also had a little bit of ninja warrior in him too, and one summer he ran a ninja camp in the backyard for his nieces and nephews. My heart smiles every time I remember them sneaking stealthily through the backyard together, practicing their ninja moves, or sitting on the grass together, meditating and practicing their mindfulness. Amidst all his struggles, Ryan continued to be an advocate and bring awareness to issues people wanted to remain blind to, issues regarding mental illness and addiction, poverty, and homelessness. He was an advocate for changes such as police accountability, increased funding for mental health, and decriminalization and safe supply. After he passed, someone reached out to me that had read a story about Ryan. She said she wanted to reach out to me because she wanted me to know she would never forget Ryan or his kindness. She said they met on the mental health ward of the hospital where they were both patients. Ryan was there after a suicide attempt. She shared with me how Ryan was always doing whatever he could to lift the spirits of the other patients, and how he had used his gift as a writer to write personalized poems for everyone there. Though he was struggling to stay alive, he was thinking about others and what he could do to help them. Another friend from our community reached out to tell me that she wanted me to know that Ryan would always be missed and remembered for who he was, because there was a huge loss in our community now, because their safe harbor was gone. She said that was what Ryan was, what his house was to the community. It was a safe harbor. That was the gift she gave them. That was the gift he gave them, she told me, a place they could all come and feel like they were welcomed and safe and belonged. That's what we strive for Ryan's hope to be. It's almost 2 years now since Ryan's passing, and I'm still so angry. I'm angry at outdated policies and politics that made it impossible for Ryan to get the help he needed. I'm angry at systems that failed him. And that's why I stand in front of groups over and over again, putting our family trauma out there, knowing that we will face stigma and judgment. It's hard and it hurts. And every time I share a story, it takes so much out of me. And it takes time to recover. But I can't stay silent when people are dying, when we are losing 21 Canadians a day to failed laws and policies. I couldn't advocate the way I do now when Ryan was alive. When he was here, my whole focus was on keeping him safe and keeping him alive. That is why moms such as me, who have lost our children. My husband and I started Ryan's Hope as a way to deal with our grief, to turn our pain into some kind of purpose that Ryan would be proud of. Most days our work heals us, but some days it brings us to our knees, and either one or both of us come home feeling like we don't have the strength to continue. There are days that the enormity of this crisis, the inhumanity of some people, and the helplessness we feel seems too big to overcome, and we want to pull up the covers and hide away from this cruel, cruel world. Days like that, I remind myself of this story, and it helps me get back out there. I would like to share it with you now. It is called The Star Thrower. One morning, a man went for a walk along a beach. He saw a little boy bending down and picking something up and throwing it into the ocean. He watched as the boy continued to do this, and finally the old man went over to the boy and said, "Young man, I've been watching you and wondering what it is that you are doing." The young boy replied, "Each night the tide comes out, and starfish are washed ashore, and then the tide goes out. Each morning the sun comes out, and if they stay here, they will die." The old man smiled and looked at the boy, and then he said, "Young man, do you not realize there are thousands and thousands of miles of beach? You can't possibly make a difference." The boy paused, looked at the man, then he bent down, picked up a starfish, threw it in the ocean, and said, "I made a difference to that one." If you look at the enormity of the problem, it is easy to be discouraged into inaction. But each of us is gifted each day the opportunity to make a difference in one life through each interaction we have with another human being. It is those collective actions that will change the world. I challenge you to be a star thrower and to make a difference today and every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for your very heartfelt sharing with us of Ryan's life and what his loss means. I'd like to call Arian up now. He's going to share a reading with us.
That should be all right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me here. It's nice to be here to spend a little bit of time giving tribute to our loved ones. And yeah, my name's Arian. I've been married for 30 years now, and lost a couple of people close to me. Passed along to overdose myself. I lost my mother, my brother, my older brother Chris, my girlfriend this year. 3 months with each other, and I could say anything better than what we said previously in that. It's just nice to see, people trying to take action towards it and trying to make a difference. I'm not great at public speaking, and like that's not what I do, so I guess I'm gonna read a poem here called "We Remember Them" by Sylvan Kamens and Rabbi Jack Reimer. Thank you guys very much. There you go. At the rising sun, it's going down. We remember them. At the blowing of the wind, the chill of the winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds, and the rebirth of spring, we remember them. The blueness of the skies, the warmth of the summer, we remember them. The rustling of the leaves and the beauty of the autumn. We remember them. The beginning of the year, when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live. They are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy, crave to share, we remember them. We have achievements that are based on theirs. We remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live. For they are now a part of us. We remember them. Thank you guys.
Bluetooth camera. Bluetooth camera.
Try this without the microphone.
Check, check. Okay, thank you. I'd like you to join me now in prayer. Mother, Father, God, Creator, Divine Source, we come to you today with heavy hearts, asking for our community to recognize our loss and our pain, but also to recognize the bright lights that each one of these people that we have lost in our community were to us and to others. We ask that you enter the hearts and minds of the politicians and the lawmakers and guide them to see a way where we can begin to be upstream, helping them before they fall in, recognizing that it's not a conscious choice. We ask you to carry the hearts of those who have lost family members, children. Let them know that you are with them and that we are with them. We thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity. And we ask for your blessing on everyone. Amen. So I'd like to thank you all for coming out today and joining us for the IAOD. I think I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. I appreciate the time you've taken to come from your homes and your jobs to be here with us to remember those we've lost and to commit to moving forward with our lawmakers and our politicians and our community. So I thank you. I'd like to let you know that the Gilbert Centre is here with naloxone kit. Over there. If anyone would like to talk to the counselors, they're there. The Busby Centre is here as well with some representatives. And at this time, I'd like to ask Mayor Jeff to raise the flag. Thank you very much, Mayor Jeff. Thank you once again for joining us today.
So I have to remind you about the vigil this evening here at City Hall. It's at 8 p.m.
And there will be some speakers, and I'll be singing. Cross your fingers. And hope to see you out for it. Thank you so much.
So now it is my pleasure to introduce Cheryl Offord. She is a fellow Mom Stop the Harm advocate, and I have the privilege of calling her a friend. 2 years ago, I did not know Cheryl, and unfortunately, we met under circumstances that nobody should have to meet under. But as I say often, I've met the most beautiful people through the most tragic event of my life, and Cheryl is one of them, and she has been a blessing to our life, and she's a blessing to this community. She's going to offer a smudge, and then she's going to share her story. So anybody that wants to have a smudge, she will come around, and you can receive that from her. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay. So while Cheryl is going around and offering people a smudge, I am now going to call Joss Pino up to the stage, and he is going to share some stories of remembrance. So these are stories from people in our community that we have lost, and their loved ones asked for them to be remembered, and so we're going to remember them this evening.
Thanks, Christine. So the first story I'm going to read here is written here by Lorraine Hurlbert, and it's about Aaron Bellingham. On January 28th, 2021, Aaron Bellingham lost his battle with addictions and other mental health issues. He was 30 years old. He came to live with me when he was 11. He had a very difficult life. There was considerable abuse and neglect. He stole my heart straight away. After moving from my home, his struggles continued. However, he called my place home. He would call and let me know how he was and would come for the holidays and visits, etc. He knew that I was there because I cared. Aaron moved to Vancouver a few years ago in search of a new start and an easier life. However, there he became addicted to opioids. He struggled with homelessness and mental health problems. I tried to help as best I could. Saying goodbye to him was the most difficult thing I have ever done. Please remember my dear Aaron. Thank you. This next one is written by Amy V, and it's about Matthew Thomas Valentini. Please remember my son, Matthew Thomas Valentini. I knew who Saint Matthew was, and when he was born, I knew he was the right name to give him. He loved music so much, and his pets were his comfort. Matthew struggled with mental health and addiction since he was 14 years old. As he grew, it got worse, and we lost him to a toxic drug poisoning. I love and miss him always. Amy V. So this next one is about Trisha McMahon. Trisha McMahon was a beautiful, charismatic, loving, and compassionate woman. To know her was to love her. Sadly, she lost her life to a drug overdose in December 2020 at the age of 38. Trisha had many different passions in life, but her love was for singing and writing. She was often writing something or singing a new song, so it didn't come as a surprise when she published a fictional novel and a collection of her poetry. She will be remembered for her stories as they leave a lasting impression. Trisha was fearless and resilient. She was known for her strong and lively personality. Even in her addiction, she was always trying to help others. She would organize gift boxes, donations, and even open her home to those in need. When she was able to, she saw the good in everyone and always strived to uplift others. Trisha was a loving mother, a caring sister, a beloved daughter, niece, aunt, and a friend. Her legacy will carry on through her 3 beautiful children. Her youngest daughter, 6 years old, already says she wants to be a doctor when she grows up so that she can help save sick people like her mommy. We all hope that one day, for her daughter's sake, this world can do more to help and save people like her mommy. Trisha, who has suffered and battled with addiction and mental health disorders. From her sister, Megan Forshaw. This one is about Tommy Weir. My dad, Thomas, aka Thomasita, was a simple man who always had a twinkle in his eye. He would give anyone the shirt off his back. He was a great grandfather to his grandchildren. He loved fishing and took grandchildren fishing all the time. He also loved to go to see his sister in Kingston, loved to go swimming, but his way of going swimming was taking 2 steps down on the ladder, dipping his head in, and that was his day of swimming. He was a man who loved cooking, and I got my cooking skill from him. There was so many stories I would love to share. He was a special man, has a special place in his heart for everyone that knew him and the twinkle in his eye. Definitely a heart of gold, a true leprechaun. He lived and loved family. Written from his daughter, Charlene. This one is about Tariq Al-Faturi. Tariq is also known as T or Tony, was a creative and generous soul. He was always trying to bring community together. He made friends naturally and easily and would randomly bring home or to the friend group new people, which often became the catalyst for many deep connections and friendships. He was a part of our community and will be missed. Written by his friend Sarah. The next one is about Carolyn. Carolyn was a positive, loving soul who cared about everyone. She loved to dress up and her favorite color was purple. She loved to have debates and was always wanting to make a difference in the world. She looked for and saw the good in everyone. That's written by Sean, her boyfriend. And that is all the stories I have to read for you all. I guess I would just like to take this moment to say I came to Barrie 4 years ago for my own struggles, and it was in Barrie and the recovery community in Barrie and the resources and support in Barrie that I saw when I was here. Basically at my worst, and it's incredible the amount of services and support there is in Barrie for those who struggle with addiction. I mean, there's just across the road. There's a great organization called Simcoe Recovery. Offers many resources for anyone struggling with addiction, or I believe families as well, if families struggling with addiction. There's also the RAM Clinic at the Barrie Detox, phenomenal program, as well as the 705 Recovery Hub downtown, which again offers amazing support groups as well as support for many different addictions, not only drugs and alcohol, but anything that can harm families and in any type of addiction. So I just want to express the gratitude I have for Barrie and all the resources that there are. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And now I would like to invite Cheryl up to the stage so she can share her story with us.
I'm really just going to read something. I write a lot. I wrote a lot through Shylyn's addiction. It was the only way that I could deal with everything that was going on. And I read a lot after she passed away. So I'm just going to read a few of the things that I wrote. If I get into too much detail, I start to cry. So So I'm going to read this one first. This happened one day when I was coming home from work. I was walking through the downtown area, and I seen Shylin crossing the road, and I just stood there and watched her. And on my way home, I wrote this in my notebook. I saw you today. I saw you crossing the road. I looked right at you. I saw your tired eyes. I saw the rolling thoughts, and I saw determination to an unhealthy place. I saw sadness and hurt and hidden tears. I looked at your physical being and how hurt it was. I saw the bones that hold your precious being together. I saw hunger, tiredness, missing a place you want to feel safe. I saw brokenness. I saw you, my sweetheart. I saw you crossing the road. I saw you, my beautiful girl, deep in there somewhere. I did not stop you, I did not call your name, but I seen you through a mother's eyes, and I know every pain that's inside. I saw you today, my beautiful girl, and I love you crazy, and I love you huge, and I miss you. That broken girl crossing that road today, she belongs to me. That's my girl. I don't regret one moment with my daughter. I don't regret any time I was given with her. I don't regret one single time that I reached my hand out for her to grab onto. I would do it all the same again. I don't think for one moment I was an enabler, because loving your child should never be labeled as an enabler. Creator gave me those moments to know of, even for one night. Creator gave me those moments to know, even for one night of a peaceful sleep, she needed that. To not worry about getting raped, or to stand on that corner at the young age of 18, or when she turned 20 and was so sick and reached out. Yes, we went to many appointments together, but I never got tired of it, because each time was hope that that was the time. I cherished every moment with her, and I feared every moment I wasn't with her. She was my best friend, my soulmate, my daughter who lost her battle at 22. See, I need help now, not then. I need someone just to hold me and let me cry. Let me say her name. I did what I did because I loved a girl that was so broken, and I held her together because she was my daughter. She was so sick, and she had no idea about her life. My goodness, she was 18 years old when she began her IV use, with many times of trying to give life a try, but unfortunately her demons turned her into this beautiful, precious angel, my beautiful gem in the sky. I got two more. Beauty is there, you just have to allow yourself to see it. It may be blurry sometimes, and the air may seem thick, but that anxiety you feel, don't fight it. Sit with it and welcome it. It is the emotions that protect emotions so you don't feel them. A battle in your own mind that is controlling your heart and spirit. Let them work together. Balance. Learning that healing is ugly, but it is also beautiful. That's what matters in your journey. Self-care comes in many forms, and your spirit needs unconditional love to survive. I carry only what belongs to me. If it is too heavy, I will find a safe space to unpack. I will make sure I can see the sun shine through the window. I will feel its warmth amongst my face, and it shines into my tear-filled eyes. I will give myself time to settle, and I will learn that not everything is going to be gentle letting go. But does it really belong to me? Yes. Well, I will reach inside and work on bringing life to it and acknowledge it and then mend it. No? Well, I will be taught by those that provide me my safe space that it's going to be okay to open up and let go. This is healing.
Thank you, Cheryl, for those beautiful, heartfelt, honest words. Now I am going to call up Jackie and Christina from the Gilbert Centre.
You can hear me? Okay. So miigwech niawen, merci, thank you to all the community members for attending the event this evening and honoring all those that have been impacted by International Overdose Awareness Day. We would also like to take a moment to acknowledge those who started this movement and who have created the groundwork for these conversations to be held. We want to honor those who have lost their lives due to the toxic drug supply and their loved ones, and the people who are with us today that have been impacted, as those are the people who are directly responsible for having these conversations held together.
Events such as these are a safe space for families and friends to mourn the loss of their loved ones. It is also an opportunity for communities to come together, to support each other, connect, and make a change for the people who are still with us today and for those that we've lost. As an organization who provides harm reduction services and advocacy in the Simcoe-Muskoka area, we are committed not only to this day to remember, but also to act. We continue to call for change in drug policies around the world to reduce the overdose toll and the stigma of drug-related deaths.
But what is harm reduction? By definition, harm reduction is the policies, programs, and projects that aim to reduce the health, social, and economic harms associated with the use of psychoactive substances. But what does this actually mean in practice? It means having immediate access to unused consumption kits, naloxone, and other life-saving tools. It means being able to access a safe supply and a safe space for folks who use drugs. It means having conversations and actually listening to people who use drugs about how we can support them instead of stigmatizing them and imposing our own beliefs on people when they have the right and freedom to choose what they want to do with their lives. Harm reduction means removing the barriers to basic needs, aiding those who are seeking support, and continuing to educate the community about the importance of harm reduction.
We need to do better as individual people and as a community. Too many people have lost their lives due to the toxic drug crisis plaguing our community, and the sad but truthful reality is many more will lose their lives if we don't make a change. We need to start educating ourselves and the community. If this is a new conversation for you, start doing some self-reflection. Listen to your loved ones and to the people who have been there. Don't be afraid to ask hard questions, and those who hold knowledge shouldn't shame those who are looking to be educated. Respectfully call in those who are uneducated on the matter. Knowledge is power and can change the lives of everyone in the community. We need to continue to make changes and support the people we love to keep them safe.
We wanted to end today with a quote by a community member from our Getting to Tomorrow report. It's available online for anyone that wants to read it. It's an ongoing project where individuals from the community actually had their voices heard and were paid for the time and their knowledge. So this is a quote from one of the community members that attended. Harm reduction means people not overdosing. They have a place where they can go and take their drugs safely without harming themselves. They are taking drugs in a safe place instead of somewhere by themselves where nobody knows that they're in distress. So once again, we appreciate everyone for being here today and for joining us in this conversation. Thank you. Thank you.
And now I'm going to invite Kent from the Busby Centre up, and he's going to do a reading for us, and he's going to be joined by Sarah Peddle from the Busby Centre as well.
Thank you. Just bear with me. I'm getting old and I got to put my glasses on. The poem tonight is Four Candles. The first candle represents our grief. The pain of losing you is intense. It reminds us of the depth of our love for you. The second candle represents our courage to confront our sorrow, to comfort each other, to change our lives. This third candle we light in memory for the times we laughed, the times we cried, the times we were angry with each other, the silly things you did, the caring and joy you gave us. The fourth candle we light for our love. We light this candle that your light will always shine. We cherish a special place in our hearts that will always be reserved for you. We thank you for the gift your living brought to each of us. We love you. We remember you.
So in a minute, Jessie is going to sing a song. It's a special request song that I asked her to sing this evening. It's a song that brings me comfort. My brother sent this song to me because he knew it would comfort me, and I just was brought to tears the first time I heard it, and every time I hear it. For me, I don't think I would have got through the loss of Ryan, and I say got through, but I'm not got through it. I'm just getting through it moment by moment. And it's my faith that carries me through that, the belief that Ryan is no longer in his pain. His pain is gone, but it's been transferred to me. But the belief that we will be together one day, and we will be in a place where there is no more pain and no more suffering. And that's what this song is about. And it brings me comfort. And I wanted Jessie to sing it tonight in hopes that it would bring comfort to some of you. So thank you.
So good evening, I'm Reverend Jessie Brandon, and I had the pleasure, albeit accidentally, of volunteering for Ryan's Hope. Christine put up a post on Barrie Family Tonight, and I thought, oh, well, I already work for them, so I'll volunteer. I thought it was a 6-week gig. And 2 years later, still here. I don't do the breakfasts anymore, but when Christine called me and asked me to sing this song, I had never heard it. So what you get is what I give from my heart. But I wanted to sing this for Christine because I know how much it means to her. If I had only known the last time would be the last time, I would have put off all the things I had to do. I would have stayed a little longer, held on a little tighter. Now what I'd give for one more day with you. Cause there's a wound here in my heart, there's something missing. And they tell me that it's gonna heal with time. But I know you're in a place where all your wounds have been erased. Knowing yours are healed is healing mine. The only scars in heaven, they won't belong to me and you. There'll be no such thing as broken, and all the old will be made new. And the thought that makes me smile now, even as the tears fall down, is that the only scars in heaven are on the hands that hold you now. I know the road you walked was anything but easy. You picked up your share of scars along the way. But now you're standing in the sun. You fought your fight and your race is run. The pain is all 1,000,000 miles away. The only scars in heaven, they won't belong to me and you. There'll be no such thing as broken, and all the old will be made new. And the thought that makes me smile now, even as the tears fall down, is that the only scars in heaven, yeah, are on the hands that hold you now. Hallelujah, 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 for the hands that hold you now. There's not a day goes by that I don't see you. You live on in all the better parts of me. Until I'm standing with you in the sun, I'll fight this fight in this race I'll run, until I finally see what you can see. Oh, the only scars in heaven, they won't belong to me and you. There'll be no such thing as broken, and all the old will be made new. And the thought that makes me smile now, even as the tears fall down, is that the only scars in heaven are on the hands that hold you now.
Thank you, Jesse. I can't listen to that song without crying. I hope it brought comfort to some people tonight. We're going to now have a moment of silence, and after that moment of silence, we will be inviting people up to get a candle and light the candle, and then we're going to place them in the water fountain.
If you'll join me now in prayer. Creator, divine source, higher power, we thank you that this day has come where we can openly share our hearts and share our wounds and remember our loved ones, our children, our mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers. We thank you for the grace that keeps us moving through each day. We thank you for the community that supports us as we struggle to learn how to carry this new load. We thank you for the people that can continue to come out and put their arms around us and just listen, because sometimes that's all you can do. Thank you for blessing us with good weather so that we can gather here tonight and share our hearts. We ask you for blessings for all those who are struggling with substance use, and let them know that they live in our hearts and we're here. Be a part of your community. Reach out, speak to someone, give them a bottle of water. You never know when you may be the one who changes things. We thank you, Heavenly Father. Amen.
And now you're welcome to go and put your candle in the water. And let me sing a song.
This is the first song that Christine ever heard me sing, and she mistakenly thought that I had some sort of ability. So I'll sing it for you now, as it's one of my favorites from my childhood. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.